once again, thanks for joining us here at 11:25. We are here with Sonja Preuss. She's an RN and a school nurse and a mom of teens, and we are discussing tonight the effects of mental health on our youth. And so, once again, thank you for being here with us.
Thank you.
And so, as we're going through and put in the comments, guys. Help us out and put in your thoughts, your comments, or any kind of things that you're doing. So Brenda said some people look and speak strong, but they are most insecure on the inside. So we put on masks.
Absolutely.
We put on show. We put on, so yeah, we separated. So thank you. I see it now. It's at 30. Thank you. But like I said, I think we put on masks and we put on just things sometimes that are just like, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And sometimes we're outgoing and we're bubbly and we're the life of the party, and on the inside we are a total mess.
Yes.
And that's what you're saying. The kids, when Tina had mentioned the comment, the kids laugh and they want to be the class clown.
Yes.
And so sometimes the class clown really isn't the clown. It's just, like you said, Robin Williams.
Yep.
You go back to those comedians, you go back to those things. This is real life.
It is.
This is where it pierces you in the heart to make other people laugh because maybe of your own insecurities.
And it hides. I think it hides. I think it takes the focus off of how we're feeling. And I do think, it makes us happy to make other people happy, but I think in some cases it's just a distraction. Just like people can be very brave behind a keyboard, behind a computer screen, because we don't have to look at that person in the face and say the things that we're saying online or through our phones. And again, I think it really comes down to that relating to one another. Would I say the same things to you through my phone that I would face to face? Seeing the emotion and seeing the hurt that it can create. I know there's been times in my own life where I feel very brave when I'm behind my phone. And so I think just really being mindful and intentional about how we use our words in every platform.
Right. And so I think too that there's a couple of things that people are saying on here too. So Marge says is she feels the sexually abused children, as sexually abused children. One of the things here was another thing is that 1 in 5 girls has experienced sexual violence. 1 in 5. That is absolutely crazy. That statistic is just absolutely, to me.
Absolutely. And the thing is I think the boys are right up there too. I don't think it's gender specific. I think, there's equal struggles amongst boys and girls as far as that goes. And, there's honestly probably more of a stigma with boys because they need to be tough. And they're not super great communicators all of the time. And so they're taught that this isn't something we talk about. And it's already a problem with females as well.
Right.
But I think amongst males as well, maybe more so.
And I think that's it. And then Mary Cruz says it could also be a sign of abuse, which takes a toll on reporting things.
Yes.
And I mean, coming in and actually saying that I was sexually abused or I've been, and I think that sometimes, once again, the mental health is they're taking responsibility for what happened to them.
Right.
Or maybe they've been told.
And that shame that we wear, right? Because if I acknowledge it, if I tell somebody something, there must have been something that I did that created. There must have been something I did, attention that I drew or acted in a certain way that created this. And everybody makes their own choices. And the people who create that hurt and that trauma are solely responsible.
Absolutely.
For
And,
that.
and that's what Marge said. She said she feels that sexual abuse leads to mental health.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
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 Hands down. And Tina said that it affected her, and Marge said her too. Marge said it took away a normal childhood.
I just had a question.
Yes.
Is it often that they don't necessarily come out and say I was sexually assaulted, but maybe they come in and they say my stomach hurts, I don't feel good, I don't want to go home? Like, like is there times where you have to call and report, hey, I think something might be happening to this kid?
Absolutely, more than I care to admit,
Right.
unfortunately. And a lot of times these kids don't recognize that it's something. I mean, I think they feel that it's something wrong, but I don't.
Saying it out loud makes it real.
Saying it out loud, but I don't think there's really that conscious realization. In this field, it's putting together a whole bunch of things. Unfortunately, there are red flags that we look for, and there are certain times where there are things happening with kids that my stomach turns because that little voice inside me says that there's something going on, and I'm a mandated reporter. I'm always very honest with my students in that anything that's said in my office stays with me so long as they are not being hurt, somebody else isn't being hurt, and letting them know that I'm there as a resource, as a help, with somebody in your corner versus getting them into trouble or getting somebody else into trouble. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's kind of depending on their age, maybe even not their age, but I'm telling you this in confidence because I trust you.
Mhm.
And then you have to you're mandated to turn that in. And that's
It's
hard.
hard because there's a trust factor there, and they come to you and they've told you this. And I mean, my explanation, rationale to them is that I care enough about them to want to bring extra people in to help them.
To protect them.
Mhm.
Right.
And that's something that I will not apologize for.
Right.
And that's why I'm here. That's my passion in life, is to be their voice if they need it.
Right. And so, a lot of this is now we're kind of going into this sexual stuff, that they've been sexually abused. And Mary Preuss said she started at when she was 3 until she was 7. Miranda, thank you for identifying. That's why you powerful ladies are here healing. And you were able to talk about that. You're able to bring that to such a format as where we're at tonight, because they tried to take your soul from you, she said, and failed. Never give up. All love and healing. So thank you. That's amazing. And I think that is I think there's a lot of that and a lot of hurt with that never ends.
Right. And I think there was actually a discussion that I had maybe a year or so ago. There was a book, and it was titled "But God Meant It for Good." So taking those circumstances where we've been traumatized and hurt in all senses, and taking that and regaining our own power back through God in relating to other people who feel weak, and being their strength and relating with them and being their person and connecting with them and turning it into power that you feel was once taken from you.
And so I think that's interesting. I'm going to get to your comments, you guys. We really are. But so one of the things, as you said, turning to God. So spiritually, it was interesting because we were having that conversation of where we grew up and what our contexts were, our experiences in connecting with God and connecting with the higher spirit and doing these things as we were growing up is very different. Mm-hmm. And so that is a level, and I know as a school nurse that it's a fine line that you walk there.
It is.
But here on and on the Porch Ministries, our thing is that what can we do as a community to help those kids find that peace that God can give them. What can we do as, as just parents in general? I mean, so, and I want to touch back on that, but the one thing is so what are some of the signs and symptoms? Let's go with that. What are you seeing for signs that you can tell that maybe your teen is experiencing either depression or some mental health issues?
Well, there would be, usually they look at a loss of interest in things that they've always liked doing, an abrupt change or a change that lasts for weeks to months, overeating, undereating, oversleeping, undersleeping, really distinct changes in personality, anger, nervousness, changes in grades. There can also be some physical signs. There are some kids that dabble in what's called cutting. I think just, and again, no parent is perfect, and there's a lot of guilt on both ends. I feel like on both, because you feel like you should recognize. I think just really taking the time to connect and to communicate and really, how was your day? Is there something that you, and making it a habit, every day of being intentional about connecting and communicating, so that you can recognize when, things might be a little bit off, and there's already that establishment of communication where there's that trust, where they feel, and being that safe place where your team can open up, where they're not going to feel judged or that they're in trouble.
That's a fine line. That is such a fine line, because as parents, we want our kids to be the best that they can be. And so we want to have ground rules. We want to have, we want to have structure. Right. We want to have whatever. But then when our teen comes home, and one of the things on here that Tina had said is alcoholism. That's another thing that they turn to, is substance abuse.
Yeah, because it's coping.
Right.
It's self-soothing.
Self-medicating.
Yeah, that's huge, especially when you don't know how to find the words to talk about what's going on inside of you. All you want to do is quiet the feelings, and you just take off that pain, the edge of that pain. And so a lot of kids do turn to substance and alcohol and honestly even sexual activity, because they want to feel that connection with somebody, or they just want to quiet those feelings that they're struggling with.
And that's where this, and I'm glad that kind of brings us back to this, is feeling loved, feeling necessary, absolutely. Feeling that they matter, regardless of if it's taking away from their own integrity, their own whatever. But somebody looked at me, somebody saw me today. The 12 minutes. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It goes back to that 12 minutes thing, whether it's abuse or not.
Right.
Somebody seen me.
Yes.
Somebody noticed me. I mattered
matter
today. And so that is one thing I think as a community that we can really work on, is showing people they matter, and seeing them, and even though they don't look the way we look, or they don't do the things that we do, or maybe they're not in our circle. Maybe it's stepping aside and saying, hey, you know what? You really do matter. Do you want to join me for a soda? Do you want to, but I think that there's so many things that we can do. And, as a Christian, I want to go out and I want to spread kindness and love and happiness. But then we see all of these issues. And it's those kids that are in those margins that don't feel seen, that they don't feel heard, that they don't feel important or connected. And those are the things that we can do to help them find, like we made up the little mirrors and we'll be handing them out. I've just kind of been delayed a little bit in that, but, and that's what it says, is I love myself. When you can look in the mirror and truly look in the mirror and say, good morning, cutie. I love you. Good morning, but then asking God instead of having God do, what can I do for you today, God?
Right.
Who can I see today?
And sometimes I think that's the best way to mend our own hurts is to give what we never received in a genuine manner. Helps us heal those parts in us when we're able to give that to somebody else. And at the basis, we're all human, right? So my circumstance is different than somebody else. And I don't know how many times I've connected with somebody who's I perceive as being completely different than me.
Right.
But at the basis, we're all human. We've all struggled with feeling at some point in our lives unloved or disappointed or hurt. Any number of things where we can really truly connect, and just walking it out. What better way to show that we are Christians than to put that into action? My one goal that I always have, that I try, and I fail every day, but I do try, is that somebody can tell that I'm a Christian without asking me that. In the way that we love each other and in what we give to each other, and we're there for each other.
And the one thing that I found, and I know we've had this conversation in the past, is the language that we use. So some people are saying, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. So yeah, your spirit inside you connects with the Spirit of God. It connects with the higher power, the higher spirit. And I think that to show kindness, compassion, and love, like you said, live love out loud.
Yes.
That is what we need to do. We need to live kindness out loud. We
Absolutely.
need to live all of those things out loud. I love that 12-minute thing. I'm going to be using that because
12 minutes.
12 minutes, but really 12 minutes of, we were talking about 30 minutes of self-care and self-love a day.
Mm-hmm.
But what if we did 12 minutes of self-loving, self-care? That's really what we need.
Yeah.
Is I'm not saying stand in the mirror for 12 minutes and, hey, beautiful, you're great, whatever. But at the same time, you can show yourself that by washing your face, doing your hair, getting dressed, and just taking care of yourself in a way that presents, and then holding your head high, shoulders back, and say, "This is a new day.
Right.
I can do this. I've got this." But then, if you have somebody, the kids coming to school, the kids coming in, or people coming into work, if you have somebody positive there saying, "Hey, you look gorgeous today," or "Hi, how was your evening?" Or whatever, just simple little things.
I even had, I'm sometimes known as Nurse Ratchet. I try really hard to keep them in class, which does not always go over very well with my demographic that I work with. But here's my thing, is I care enough about you to care about your education, to care that you're here at school, to care that you're getting the 2 meals a day that we can provide. I am in your corner. And do I connect with every student? Absolutely not. But there are those ones that stand in my mind that I can remember having heart-to-hearts that, I grew up like you. I was there, and I remember that moment in time where I said I was going to be a different parent. I was going to break the mold, and I was going to do better. Doesn't mean I'm perfect, and I'm always learning. My kids will tell you how imperfect of a parent I am.
Aren't we all?
But just really, that when you know better, you do better.
Right.
You have to stop and you have to say, do I want to keep this? Do I want to keep the hurt rolling, or do I want to stop it and try to learn better and try to learn how to connect with people and to affect somebody else? And what we get back when we are there for other people, I think, is more of a blessing than what we've provided to them.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that there is that lifts us up so much.
Absolutely.
Is, and we all have those circumstances that we have helped somebody and we didn't even mean to.
Right.
I mean, and it's that spontaneous thing sometimes that are just like, woo,
Yes.
And I know Veronica was talking last week when we were talking about our self-worth. She talked about a young man who came up to her at Walmart after she got off work and, I love your earrings. Oh, your eyes are beautiful. And then a while later said, oh, can I give you a hug?
Yeah.
And it just lifted her up, but it also lifted him up.
Yes.
And so it was a, you know, we need to do that for one another. We need to be there for one another because you do not know what somebody else is going through.
Absolutely.
You do not know what they woke up to in the morning, or if they woke up, or if they were up all night.
Yeah.
You know, with anxiety and sleep is sometimes very hard to find.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Absolutely.
I want to get to part of your things. Miracruz said bullying is so much easier nowadays with the use of technology.
Mm-hmm.
All it takes is a post to ruin somebody's name.
Yeah.
That is something that is new from when I was a kid.
Absolutely.
Because the only thing we did was write on paper and throw it across the room, and then hopefully somebody found it. But you know, but it is so much easier.
It is.
But like you said, also when you're behind the screen, it is so much easier.
It is. You can be 10 foot tall behind that screen. And it's different when you're looking at somebody's face as you're saying those things.
And looking into their eyes.
Yes.
And so the one thing is, and so we've been sharing this too, is first of all, what's your blessing today? What is your blessing? So I'm going to ask you, what is your blessing today?
My blessing is being here and sharing. I love talking about my job. I love my kids. And so just being here and trying to help anybody.
That is awesome. In the comments, I want you guys to put what your blessing is for today. And so, what's your blessing?
And here to follow you. That's great.
That's awesome.
In the presence of you, cutie.
Aww. Right, you just elevated me.
Yeah.
See how that works? It happens like that.
All right.
Well, I woke up today.
That's
Absolutely.
awesome. That is awesome.
Oh.
And for
On the
me,
right side of the dirt.
on the right
Right.
side of the dirt. Yeah.
Right.
And so for me, I think my blessing is that we have an opportunity to reach so many people
Mhm.
in such a unique way. And every time I get up and I'm always stressing about, oh, how's this going to go, whatever. But then I'm thinking, we can put this little camera on. We can have all of these people on. We can have this conversation. And we have people across the country, across the world, joining in on our conversation about mental health and about how we can connect in different ways, be it spiritually, emotionally, physically, whatever it is. And you know, I know that for me, like I said, the bullying in the school may have changed because it's easier behind the technology. But and Roseanne said, yes, there's a lot of bullying, and we're trying really hard to stay ahead of it. Did they have a hotline for kids to report in her school?
Yep.
Do you guys have that?
The county has resources that they put up.
Okay, that's awesome.
That we try to make really visible. I know that staff that are in schools really try. I don't think anybody realizes how much heart and soul that our teachers, our guidance counselors, and our administrators put into our kids. There's, that saying, some kids come to school to be loved. And I couldn't tell you the number of wonderful, beautiful people that I work with on a daily basis that take those kids home with them. And it doesn't stop when we walk out those doors. And when summer comes, we worry about them. Spring breaks and snow days. And they really, truly do. They put everything they have into making that connection. And I don't think they get enough credit for that.
No, I don't think they do either. And I think that there is a whole lot of things that we can do. But like I said, being as passionate as you are about this, you're in the right profession and right place.
So Pastor Deb has a lot of teachers that follow her. And I just wondered, because obviously you carry a lot of hurt behind, only being able to do so much for the kids. What do you do to cope with your hurt?
Oh, I think connecting with each other is huge. I I can be a Christian and I can struggle with my own mental health. I can struggle with depression. I can struggle with anxiety. So really making sure that we're doing self-care as well. Leaning on those things that bring us strength and help us to balance it out is really, really important. Because you can very easily feel hopeless. You can easily feel like you didn't do enough, you didn't see enough. But just constantly, resetting and remembering each morning that it's a new day. Looking for those positives in the day. I have littles that come in, and I have one that I don't get to see every day, but he makes it a point to come in because he needs to give me my hugs. And on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, they get extra to get me through the weekend because some things like that, just you feel like you connect. And help
So
fill
we're
you
like
up.
really grasping onto the positive
Yeah.
to get through the negative.
Yep.
So do they
Absolutely.
have something in, that's a really good question, because do they have something in place, like when something happens at school that's dramatic, somebody, a kid gets in an accident, and is there a place for the teachers to debrief and to just, I mean, do they have a place for the staff and the administration to just let go? I mean, because you have to hold it together for the kids.
You do. And
But that takes a
You
toll on their
have-
mental health.
well, and we've had discussions because there, there's concerns there, and we're reminded by, our own counselors that are in, and we sometimes will bring in outside counselors from other schools depending upon what the circumstance is. But we're reminded that, you need to take care of you. You need to identify what you're feeling and work through it. So it's really a village for each other, a village to raise these kids, and just doing the absolute best that we can.
Well, and I think it's a day-to-day.
It is.
I have one more question. I was just thinking, so you have all these kids at school, and then you go home to 3 more kids, teenage kids. 4. Sorry.
3 teens.
Three teens.
Oh, okay,
Teenagers.
4 kids. So when you said, like self-love is how you, cope and reset. When do you find comfort for that? Because I have 1 kid and I can barely manage 30 minutes a day. So
Some days it's going home and being able to hug my own kids.
right, and you have to have a brave face for them, right?
You do, but at the same time, I think it was Mother Teresa that said, if you want to change the world, go home and love your family. So my thing is going home and trying to connect with my kids so that they go out and love on other people, and that they spread that. And I think I have phenomenal kids. I'm a little biased, but just really looking at that and helping them to understand. Like I said, in our little fishbowl, this is what we experience, but not everybody experiences that. So it's important to just love people where they are and to meet them where they are.
It is so hard sometimes.
It is.
Without judgment, without biases, because meeting them where they are might look so different from where you are. And it is okay that they are different. It is okay that they live things different. Their normal is not your normal. Like I said, this is something that just keeps going on and on and on. And so I think Wessa has been in a wheelchair all of her life, and she said, was there any kids in wheelchairs where you're a nurse at?
Oh, absolutely. I have one right now. 2 years ago, I had 4 students that were in wheelchairs. Like I said, I've done tube feedings with students. I have some kids with seizures, some with diabetes. Just all sorts of things that you wouldn't even imagine that kids have to struggle with, that come to school, and we try to just make them feel as included as possible. So yeah,
And
all the time.
And it's beautiful. Now, Tina, I am not Miss missing your comment, and she said she was told by the church growing up that she was going to go to hell. We are going to be touching on that walk of faith on our Thursday, probably our Thursday night session, which I have not announced yet, but that is something that I really do want to talk about, because we have been hurt by faith. The one thing that is pulling us through, that peace, that love, that kindness, or whatever. But so many people have been hurt by the church, by those people who are supposed to be the religious leaders, the people that are supposed to be the ones that are leading them and to God. And so it is a topic that I do want to share, because that's some of our context in the back, but it also really affects our mental health.
It does.
And so where we're at in our lives and where you're at today really shows how strong you are in your walk in your life. And so when I say I'm proud of you, Tina, I'm proud of you. I really am. I mean, and for you to be as brave as all of these ladies and all of these people are tonight, sharing their stories and sharing their hurts and sharing some of the things that they have done. So we're going to be wrapping this up, but Miranda said, let's start a 12-minute movement. Let's go up
Love that.
hug a stranger for 12 minutes.
11.5 more minutes. Just go with it.
Just, all right,
It's
12 minutes is a long.
But it's what you pack into.
You gotta keep bringing.
But go and spend 12 minutes tonight with somebody that you want to feel loved. And I think that really is a great way to kind of end our time together. First of all, Marge was blessed because she had a day off. So that was her blessing for today.
She deserves it.
And like I said, yeah, so all of us come together from very different places, from different backgrounds. So tonight, I do want to thank everybody for coming. I want to thank you for being here, your time. And so, like I said, as we go on tonight, continue to put in the comments. If you have things, we'll come back to them. If you have questions for Sonja, put them in the comments. I will make sure she gets all of them.
Yes.
And
I'd love to.
we will get back to you. And this might be something that we want to revisit again.
I'd love
Because I think that this is something that is bigger than what we understand at times.
to. Absolutely. I think it's like a glacier. We only see the tip, and there's so much below the surface that people struggle with, and also our youth and teens, everybody.
And even as, so the one extra thing too is as the school nurse, you're not only dealing with the kids, but you're also helping the parents, not only identifying that their kids may need help, but then I'm sure that you also identify that the parents need extra resources.
Absolutely.
And so there's a whole lot of this packed in. And so once again, thank you for being here. I want to thank you all for coming tonight. I want you to know that you are important, that you are necessary and loved right where you are and for who you are. And I want to thank you for being here tonight. God bless and have a great night, everyone. Sleep well. Love you all.
Thank you.